This is Gemara Baba Kama Daf Lamid Aleph, and we're holding on the bottom of Lamid Amid Beis, 3 lines from the bottom. De Itmar Ravuna Amar Rav Halacha Umayrin Kain, whereas Rav Barava Amar, excuse me, Halacha Umayrin Kain. Excuse me, now we're Halacha Umayrin Kain, and we're explaining right now that what happened in the previous brisa is both agree with Rav that when we have an item that one is mafkir, the halacha is going to be that that's not the debate in such a scenario. Rather, the halacha is, should we tell people halacha mayrikin, halacha vein mayrikin, which is a fascinating idea, which basically means this is the halacha. The question is, should we get up and should we tell people this is the halacha? The way the Rashi explains that, according to the Tanna Kama, someone asks the Rav whether he could take the original item. Again, this goes back to the topic of the Amid, the Machlekes Rav and Zeiri, whether when someone puts a straw and it gets better and it's just a rabbim, does he only lose that which gets better? Does he lose the original materials themselves? So according to Tanna Kama, the Rav has to tell him, no, you're not allowed to take the original item. To take the shvacha, and that's one thing, but take the original item, you cannot. If he goes and he does take them, then Lamaisa, he has them. And this is the detail which Shimon Gamliel argues. And he says, no, halacha umayrin came, that if someone comes to ask, you're allowed to tell him, he's even allowed to take it. So says the Gemara, this is a machlekes Ravuna Barav and Rav Ada Barava. Says the Gemara in the last line, Eini, is this true? Ravuna Avker Chushli, Rav Ada Barava Avker Silik Susa. Ravuna made Mavkir his peeled barley. Rav Ada Barava made Mavkir his Silik Susa, his date residue. So says the Gemara, Bishlama, we could explain when it comes to Rav Ada Barava. I understand Kishmaitse. Like Rav Ada Barava taught prior on Amid base, Ela Rav Huna, but rather according to Rav Huna, Lema Hadr Bey. Is this going to prove that Rav Huna is going to be Chayzer? Says the Gemara, Hanu Mutar Navu. No, the case was different. The case of Rav Huna, the people were warned, and that's the reason why they were not allowed to keep the items in Rosh Hashanah, because they received an explicit warning. If you look at the third line in Rashi, Rashi explains what Rav Ada Barava's Kishmaitse is halacha umayrin came, whereas Rav Huna's astira. Says the Gemara, Mutarmim sha'asru kama pamim bebailam. They're warned many times, and therefore the din is different. We continue with the Mishnah. Lamid Aleph Amid Aleph Shnei Katarim, 2 potters. Shayim Alchin says they're walking one after another. V'nit galarisha v'nafal. First guy chips in, falls in his sheni barisha. The second one chips in the first one. Harishan chayiv b'niskei sheni. The first one who tripped and caused damage. The second guy, he is obligated with his damages. Amar Rav Yechon, we go right into the Gemara. Says Rav Yechon loitema mas nisan rameiri. Do not say that our Mishnah is Rameir de Amar, and this is going to really be the line of the day. Don't say the Mishnah is like Rameir that says Niskal Poisheahu and therefore Chayiv. Ela filu Rabbanan Damri Einesu Upater. Still, our Mishnah is going to be Chayiv. Why? Because he should have stood up. And this really brings out, as Rav Yechon starts off, what is the machlekes in the Mishnah? The Mishnah said 2 people are walking, the first guy falls, trips, the second guy trips over him. So why is the first one obligated? It comes like Rav Yechon says, don't say the Mishnah is only Rav Meir who holds niskal, tripping is negligence. That's why the first one is chayiv, which would be obvious. Says Rav Yechon, the Mishnah could even fail with the Rabbanan. The Rabbanan who say what? Tripping is not a poisheya. It's not negligent. And again, we're talking about the first guy that tripped over his own feet. He just fell. Rather, Say the Rabbanan, Niskal could be an Eines. So why in the Mishnah did it say he's Chayiv? For a different reason. After he fell, which was an Eines, he should have stood up. He didn't stand up. That's the reason why he is Chayiv. From Nachman Bar Yitzchak Gamar, a second way of learning the Gemara. Mishnah. You can even say he did not have time to get up, so it's not why he's Chayiv. But yeah, we can still say Nitzkal is an Oines. So why is he Chayiv? Another svara. He should have warned him, V'loi his here. And even if you're gonna tell me that tripping is an Oines, and a Mishnah Chayiv is why, because you should have warned him. Says the Gemara of Rav Yochanan, who argues, what does he say? Amar, why did Tarid? Just like you're not able to stand up, says Rav Yochanan. Excuse me. Since if the scenario was that you weren't able to stand up, meaning Rav Yochanan is saying you're Rav Nachman Yitzchak arguing, and you're saying Afilu Te'ema, he wasn't able to stand up. So why is he chayiv? Because he could have warned him. Says Rav Yochanan the same way he couldn't have stood up. He couldn't have warned him. That's the reason Rav Yochanan learns the case he's talking about where he was able to stand up. Says the Gemara. So that is the machlekes Rav Yochanan and Rav Nachman Yitzchak with regard to whether one is mechuyav, whether one is obligated and able to warn the guy behind him that he fell. Tanan, we learned in our Mishnah, 5 lines into the wide lines, Amid Aleph, Haya, Bal Kaire, excuse me, Bal Kaire, and is that your classical Bal Kaire? It's the Baal, the owner of the Kaira, of the beam, not your Bal Kaire from Shabbos morning davening. Haya Bal Kaira Rishon, if you have a guy holding a beam walking first, or Bal Chavis Achrain, and you have a guy walking with a barrel after him. Nishroi Chavis a Bikaira, and the barrel breaks inside the beam, meaning the guy in front broke the guy behind's barrel. Potter, he is Potter. Meaning, if randomly, let's say the back guy just walked too fast, and he fender bender with the guy in front of him, the back guy is chayiv, not the front guy. But if the first guy stopped, then chayiv. Why, says the Gemara seemingly, my life sha'amar lekatif, that he stopped to do what? To fix the load, to fix the beam on his shoulder, which is the orche, which is normal. So why is he chayiv? V'kotani chayiv dehavalei lehasir. You know he's chayiv because he should have warned him. He should have told the guy behind him, stop, I'm stopping here. Kasha on Rav Yochanan, because we see like Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak that he was allowed to stop in this scenario. And yet, why is he chayiv? He's chayiv because he should have warned him. Says the Gemara, Allah, no raya. Really, kishama lafush, you stop to rest. If you stop to rest, what do you mean you're not allowed to stop to rest in the middle of the street? Aval amar lekatev mai, what would it be if you actually stopped to arrange the load? Pot. Says the Gemara, if that's true, at the Tani Seifa, the Seifa of this Mishnah said, which we're going to actually deal with in tomorrow's daf. If he said stop, Potter, why did he go to a new case which he told him to stop? If we're saying it's true, classically we should differentiate within the case itself. It's always better to show within the case itself than to introduce a new case. When you stopped to rest, Potter. So why wouldn't the Mishnah say such a case if this din was true? Ki amar loy lebal chavis amayd Potter. So says the Gemara, you know what's going on over here? We have to answer that even when he stopped to rest, which is not the right thing to do in the middle of the street, still there's a chiddush. Ki kamar loy lebal chavis amayd is in Potter. So the Gemara is saying the chiddush on the other way is that even though you should not have stopped, and it's abnormal to stop, but if you did yours by warning him, then you're going to be Potter. And therefore, we can't bring a raya from this Mishnah either way. Tashema continues the Gemara. We're about 10 lines into the wide line. The first word on the line is Labal Chavis. Says the Gemara, Hakadarim. We have potters, Vehazagim, glass guys, Shayim Hachim Zazah, walking one after another. Nitkala Rishon v'nafal, the first guy trips and falls. Nitkala Sheni v'Rishon, the second guy trips on the first one. Vashlishi v'Sheni, and the third tripped in the second, the 3-car pileup. What's the halacha? Rishon chayev b'niskei Sheni, v'Sheni chayev b'niskei Shlishi. Each guy is obligated for the next damages that happened because of him. But says the Braisa, v'machmas Rishon naflu, then Rishon chayev b'niskei kulam. But continues the Braisa, v'im is heroes as pturin. So says the Gemara, my lav shalo yehoyo lohem lamoid. This is not talking about a case where they did not have time to get up, and yet we see if they warned each other, they're going to be potter. Says the Gemara, lo no raya shayolem lamoid. They should have stood up. Avaloy lo lamoid my potter. Same kashi. Achad tani seifim is here says that potter. Live like velestivity devamed. Varban burim shayolem lamoid avaloy lamoid beturin. Hakam ashla, and says the Gemara, no, you know what this price is chiddush is. Tafal gav doylem lamoid kisir zeh beturin, just like we said before. Amar Rava, says Rava, once we're dealing with this case of the 3-car pileup, let's delve a drop deeper. Says Rava, Rishon, 3 lines from the bottom, Chayev b'niskei Sheni, Bein b'niskei Gufay, Bein b'niskei Mimayin. Says Rava, when the Brisa said that the first guy is obligated in the hezek and the damage of the second one, that means whether you damage his body or his items, his utensils. Sheni, the second guy is chayev b'niskei shlishi, only b'niskei gufay avloy b'niskei mimaynai. So that's the din of Rava differentiating between the damages of the first and the second guy. Now the Gemara really asks the obvious kasha that anyone who's thinking is bothered by right now. Whichever way you twist it, Rava, what's going on? If tripping is negligence, so Rava, how can you seemingly take it both ways? And with that, we turn over to Lamed Aleph Amud Beis, and says the Gemara, we can explain the Brisa as follows. Rishon vadai peshehu. The first guy that tripped, you're right. It is indeed a pesheya. Sheni, but says the Gemara, I apologize, 1 second. We're having a little bit of Zoom issues. There we go. Sheni, says the Gemara, agufay mechayiv. He's only chayiv for the guf. He's not chayiv for the kelim. Why? Because he should have stood up. And therefore, since he should have stood up, that's the reason why he's chayiv for the guf. However, the second guy is butter on the moment of the third guy. Why? Because the second guy ketaina. I didn't dig this pit. It's the first guy's fault. He tripped. I just fell on top of him. So you want to tell me that I'm obligated for the guf? Fine, that I can get. But to tell me I'm obligated for the mamain, how could that be? This is a bar that is not mine. And therefore, says the second guy, I am not chayiv for the damages to the kelim of the third guy. Says the Gemara. Okay, so now that we have a shot in Rava, now we could ask a kasha on Rava. Meisvei asked the Gemara, says in the Brisa, Kula chayavim al niskei gufanu b'turin al niskei me'mayna. And says in the Brisa, all of them are chayiv for nezik to the guf and potter for the mammon. My love, afilu risha does not go on all of them. Now all of them is considered the first one also. And what do we see? This Brisa is explaining that nizik mammon, you're potter, but Rava said you're chayiv for nezik mammon. Says Gemara loy levar meirish. Raiva kulam getani. Amar Rava Rava kulam hani zakin. It meant all the damaged one, which does not include the first guy because he wasn't damaged by anyone. Says the Gemara, what's going on? Hi mai. Amar bishlam avila rishon. Hani digzani kulam. Aliyamre levar meirishain. My kulam. Listening hani zakin. Why would he say kulam? Just say all them they got damaged. So what is going on with the wordage of the Mishnah according to the Brisa, according to Rava. Ela Amar Rava. Rather, Rava says, and Rava here says the Gemara is clarifying what Rava meant in Amid Al. Ela Amar Rava explains the Gemara. Rishon chayvim miniskei gufay disheni, bein niskei mimoinoi disheni, v'sheni chayv niskei shlishi miniskei gufay, avaloi beniskei mimoinoi. My taima. The reason being, says the Gemara, the havalei bar, v'loi matzinu bar shchayav v'yisa kilim. Says the Gemara, so that's pshat in Rava. The first one is chayiv b'niskei gufay and b'niskei mimoinoi. The second one is only chayiv in his kigufay. Why? Because it's like a bar, which is potter for kilim. Says the Gemara, ha nichal Shmuel tamar. This reminds us of a sugi we learned a few days ago called Takala Bar. Shmuel learned any takala, any item that is left in Rishtaram that eventually does damage is considered a bar. And therefore, it can make sense in this case that the second guy is considered a bar with regard to the third guy, and therefore you're potter for Caleb. But Rav the Amar, but according to Rav, that said, if you're mafkir, that which is damaging, that's considered a bar. If not. Michael and Meimar. According to Rav, how are we going to say anything? We never said that the second guy made his item hefker. So why would it be considered a bar according to Rav? Says the Gemara, you're right. Let's go back. Lo'ilam kidamar and meikara. Really, like we thought Pshat and Rava was back in the beginning. Udikashkalach, and you had a question for the word kula and chayavit. The Gemara Yuni kameder avina shehosku kelim bekelim. The case is referring to that Kalim got damaged by Kalim. Therefore, when it says that he's not chayiv, it only means when his Kalim damage someone else's Kalim. And in there, Rava would tell you even the first one is potter. Why? Because it's his Kalim that damage and not he himself. We conclude, Amar Mar imach masarisha nafla risha chayiv in his Kalim kula machmas rishon. How could that be? Rav Papa Amar de Paskil Orchei Kishilda Rav Zilda Amar Kichota Disam Yusa. Says the Gemara, just going back for a moment. What was the case of the Brisa that one guy could damage all of them? How is that shaykh? Says Rav Papa, he blocks the road like a shalda, like a carcass, meaning he's blocking the whole road. Or Rid Amar Kichota Disamya, like the stick of a blind man. Basically, different Lashoinais, different Mishalim, just saying that when that guy fell, he's mamish blocking the whole road, and that's the reason why the Risha could be chayiv in all the damages. Pick it up from the Mishnah the next year. B'siyata Dishmaya.